what should policies be judged on? So as we consider a policy, how should we judge them whether or not they're a good policy?
To me, the first thing is freedom.
Okay.
Is this a policy that takes away individual freedom? Because when this country was founded, we valued individual freedom as very, very important.
Yeah.
And so if it takes away individual freedom, I think it ought to throw up a red flag just to start with. Because you could get into the issues of efficiency and all of that, and when you get into those areas, it just depends on who's making those comments.
Yeah.
But I think if we look at them on the basis of freedom, give us the freedom to let people do what they want to do, as long as they're not harming someone else. Let them do what they want to do in their daily lives and in their business and their activities and occupations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why doesn't price fixing work? In your book, you talk about minimum wage and other things.
Yes.
So, and minimum wage is basically price fixing for labor.
That's correct.
So why doesn't price fixing work? I mean, it sounds good. It's one of those things that sounds good. But
sounds good.
Why doesn't that work?
It leaves out the market.
Yeah.
The market supply and demand should set the price of nearly everything. With regard to the minimum wage in Arkansas in January went to $10 an hour here in Arkansas. The only problem with that is the cost of living here in Arkansas is about half what it is in New York City.
Right.
So our minimum wage of 10 is equivalent to $20 an hour in New York City. So we basically have said, in comparison to New York City or Boston, Massachusetts, that we're setting our minimum wage at $20 an hour. What this does is price unskilled young workers out of the market, because a lot of the time, not only is it $10 an hour, but you have to add the Social Security onto it also and get that number and get it up. It's about $11 an hour that it's going to cost you. Plus, the first few weeks, the employees there, they're probably worth $2 an hour.
If that,
in fact, they may cost
negative,
you more. It's probably negative.
Yeah.
So those things, it sounds really good. They will raise the minimum wage, but that creates a surplus of workers, those young workers that never get that chance. And you never know how a first job will change someone's life.
Right. I mean, this is what I always think about whenever I think about this issue. Let's say you got a guy that really wants a job. He's fresh out of high school, or maybe he's still in high school, and he just wants some work. And he comes to me and says, hey, I'd love a job. And I'll have to say to him, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I'll work for you for $5 an hour. Now, without minimum wage, I might be willing to take a risk on him and let him prove himself.
And let him work a week or two and see if he's going to be productive.
But because of minimum wage, that is illegal. It's illegal for me to enter into an agreement with this young man who wants an opportunity. So it just kills some people, and it's not very many, but why would you impose something that would hurt anybody?
Exactly. I have a story about a gentleman that ended up being a vice president at a bank, and during the Great Depression, he went to the bank as a young man and said, look, I'll work for you for nothing for 2 months.
Yeah.
Then if you like my work, hire me. If you don't, no problem.
Yeah.
He went to work for 2 months. They liked him, hired him, became vice president of the bank, retired as vice president. Yeah. Those are the kind of things that, if I wanted to go to work for you for $8.50 an hour, why can't I do that?
Right.
I'm an American citizen. Don't we have freedom?
Yeah.
But you say, well, they're taking advantage of you. No, not if that will help me. You take a retired person, if they could go to work for $9 an hour and add to their Social Security, it would give them something to do. They would use their energies and activities. They might double their income.
Yeah.
So it is important to understand that freedom is an issue. We could raise our minimum wage to $50 an hour.
Yeah.
If you could go over to some poor country and say, this country is really poor, let's raise the minimum wage $50 an hour and make everybody wealthy.
Yeah.
Well, you would destroy the economy of the country.
Right, exactly. I think it's a problem of the seen and the unseen. Whenever they raise the minimum wage, they'll hold up these few people. See, look, this guy, he was making $8 an hour, and all of a sudden he's making 10. What you don't see is the guy that never gets the job.
That's right.
Because his skill level is only at $7 or $8 an hour.
Some of the people that are out demonstrating for $15 an hour minimum wage, national minimum wage, don't realize that if that actually happened, they would probably be let go. I wouldn't make a big deal of it, but they would just say, well, we just don't need your services anymore because you're less productive.
Yeah.
So we cut the less productive out. We don't give them a chance to get their foot on the first rung of the ladder and get moving up.
And I think a lot of people hear this and they think, well, that just sounds cruel.
Exactly.
But it's not. No. Why is it not cruel?
It provides opportunity.
Yes.
You could end up starting at $8 an hour somewhere and end up opening a company in 20 years, something like that. Yeah. It's so many young people, like college students, have started working for companies in the summer or something like that, and then they end up getting a job. They may end up being the CEO of the company. I think opportunity to learn and to work. That's the key.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate because we do have free work programs, and they're called internships sometimes. So you can work. So you can work for zero, or you have to, or your output has to be at $10 an hour. So what about all those people in between? I mean, it just cuts all those people out that might otherwise have opportunities.
Exactly. So and prices work that way. It's anytime you do something to the price. If you raise the price higher than the market, you're going to end up with surplus. If you try to keep it low, then you're going to end up with a shortage. That's exactly what happened in Russia. The prices were low, but then there were shortages because you didn't let the price provide the incentive to produce the product and deliver it to the consumer.
Yeah, why would they? I don't want to get into a discussion on price gouging because that's the way people would say that. But the pricing mechanism tells people what people value.
It transmits information.
And
if you don't allow it to transmit information, the information doesn't get to where it needs to be, and the corrective action doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And so we've seen shortages in just recently in the pandemic of personal protective equipment, PPE, and stuff like that. And I know there has been rises and falls in prices, but they've really tried, I think, to keep prices down. And they'll say that these people that are charging these high prices are bad, but really those pricing signals are telling us, hey, we need more PPE.
We need more of it.
We need more PPE.
And if you don't allow the price to fluctuate, then you have to allocate.
Yeah.
You have to allocate because one person will come in and buy it all out. Then they'll go outside and they'll sell it for higher prices. So you have to allocate or ration. That's what happened during World War II with gasoline and things like that. We rationed those products during the war. Yeah, we saw. I mean, had you let prices rise, we would have never had a shortage. Like on alcohol, for instance. I mean, I was one of those that went around and bought a few bottles, maybe 3 or 4 bottles of it. But now they've put a limit. You can only buy a couple bottles of it, and that's one way to do it. Making hand sanitizer, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. Because we've got all our employees and the stuff that we're trying to do here to keep people safe, and if you didn't do it, somebody else is going to buy it, and that's just the incentive is to just load up on it, buy as much as you can.
I know, and then the shelves are empty, and somebody comes in that really needs it, and it's not there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's